Aloha. Yeah, well, it's going to be a weird Halloween. But with Halloween coming, I start thinking about ghost stories. I can't help myself. Yeah, I started thinking about my buddy Scotty. Scotty was a saxophone player. Yeah, he was. Oh well, in high school, Scotty was a couple years younger than I was and the guys in the band. But we decided we needed a saxophone player, and so we picked on Scotty. He was in the same school, but several classes down. Asked him if he'd join the band. And we brought in another guy who was an upperclassman too, so a second horn player. And we added horns to the band at that time. Well, Scotty, he was always, I don't know how to put it, honored to be able to hang out with the older guys, and play in this band. And so it was always kind of a big brother thing, with him a little bit. Even when he was 40 years old, it was still the same, Scotty always looked up to us a little bit. But he used to like to go back to his parents' old house and let himself into his old bedroom, even when he was, married, had his own house and stuff, and lock the door behind him and go in there and sit on his bed and practice his saxophone. This is where he first learned, I guess, and so there was a space in that room for him that was perfect for practicing. It was peaceful. And so that's what he used to do about once a week. He'd go over to his folks' house and lock himself in the bedroom and blow his heart out. Well, one day he was in there and he's wailing away, and his mom and dad are in the kitchen. All of a sudden, right in the middle of the note, they just heard a big clunk. Everything stopped. Well, he's in the habit of locking the door behind himself, so it took a little while to get the thing open. Once they got in, there he was, laying on the floor, dead out, man. He had, in the middle of a note, he had blown an aneurysm in his brain, and he died almost instantly. Actually, it's a pleasant memory for me to think of this, because I don't think I know anybody basically that's such a good death. I mean, he died right in the middle of doing just what he loved the most, and so good way. Yeah, well, anyway, like I said, he'd been a little younger, and we'd chose him and brought him into the band and such, and well, because he was a little younger, Scotty was a little bit, I don't know, always just a little bit naive. In Chicago, I don't know, we call him a mark. If there was somebody out there trying to make something, they'd find a mark, and so that was Scotty. And so he'd get into all kinds of situations where somebody else was, taking him to the cleaners, because he just was a little naive that way. Yeah, and so as far as the naivete is concerned, he was always buying stuff that seemed like, oh wow, this is spectacular! Look what I got, and oh, Scotty, it's like, did you notice that there's no engine in the truck, stuff like that. He'd get burned a lot. Well, one day I get a phone call from him, and says, "Hey, I got this place I rented over in Fox River Grove. Super deal, beautiful house, great big place. Got the whole house. Got to throw a housewarming party. You're invited. I'm bringing everybody in. Okay, give me the address. I'll take the address down. Time comes around next week. It's party time, and so I drive over there and get up in front of this place, and boy, that's a big old, not quite Victorian. I'd say it was World War I to 1920s building, brick, large place, big place. And so I come walking up the steps onto the front porch, and knock on the door, and door swings open. There's Scotty. "Hey, Bill, nice to see you. Come on in," and it's like, man, immediately, it was like somebody stretched saran wrap over the doorway. I tried to walk in, but there was something that was actually almost pushing me back out. There was a resistance. And my eyes began to water, too. I had a reaction where I was tearing and it was getting very difficult to see properly. Something pushing me back out of the house. Well, this was at a point in my life where I had the misfortune myself of actually having rented several houses that were rather intensely haunted. And there was a reaction, all I could figure, that during that period of time in my life while I lived in haunted houses, I had become sensitive. That if I got near a haunt, I didn't, come to a house that's haunted, I would know it. I could feel the haunt. And that's what was happening at Scotty's place. I could barely even get in the doorway. I couldn't even see. And Scotty's going, "Hey, man, what's wrong? Come on in." I'm going, "Scotty, this place is big time haunted." "Really? Huh. Well, I don't know, man. It's been closed for years. It was cheap." I walk inside, and the decor in the house was like circa 1937. "Yeah, it was completely furnished, man. It even had the lamps and tables and stuff. We didn't have to bring any furniture in, And I'm going, "Oh, man, this place has been shut for years. It must have been in probate with a family locked up, and they finally got it settled and then opened the door and rented it." Is all I could figure. I don't know the exact history of how this occurred, but the inside of that building hadn't been looked at by anybody for decades. It was all old furniture, old wallpaper. The old wallpaper was unbelievable. So anyway, so Scotty says, "Come on, Bill, I'll show you around. It's a great place." "Yeah, okay, Scott. So, hey, let me show you the attic." And so we start going up this set of stairs towards the attic. Oh, man, same situation, but even worse. As you come up the top into the landing and step into the attic, it was just like saran over me. Some resistance. I could hardly move, and I could barely see. It was an odd sensation, but a sensation I was familiar with. It meant the place was big time haunted. And so we're in the attic, and Scotty's going, "Yeah, look at all the room in here, man. I'm thinking I'll make a practice hall up here, and stuff." And I'm going, "Scotty, this attic is really haunted. There's something up here." And he says, "Yeah, the neighbors were telling me that a long time ago, whoever it was lived here used to sit up in this attic and play creepy music on an organ all night long." Whew. Yeah, I can imagine. Bela Lugosi on a pipe organ, So it was something odd that used to go on up there for sure, because the haunt had a very heavy, strong presence in that attic, and who didn't like me. So he says, "Hey, let me show you downstairs. Come on, let's go in the basement." So we go down in the basement, and there's these little rooms and cubicles, and one of the rooms apparently had been an art studio. This person who'd lived there had been an artist, but oh my goodness, the weirdest stuff. And again, this feeling of pressure. It wasn't quite as bad, but it was still strong, a resistance, a feeling of pushing back. And there were paintings laying around on canvas in their room all over the place. And I started to pick them up, and I mean, what dark stuff. This was like dark veiled figures with red eyes, half buried in shadows, Every bit of it was like totally, just absolutely dark and creepy. This person who had lived there was by no means an ordinary human, that's for sure. They were pretty dark, it looks like. And I guess they were still there, which would explain why the relatives rented the place, just got out of the neighborhood. I wouldn't have wanted anything to do with it either myself. Anyway, Scotty was the lucky guy because, being Scotty, he didn't even notice a thing. totally oblivious to the fact that there was some evil presence hanging in that house, something very strong. That was the only time I ever went there, and I for sure had no interest in ever going back again. I meet up with Scotty anywhere else, somewhere else besides that house. What eventually happened over there, I don't know. But there you go, folks. That ain't a big one, but there's a little ghost story, huh? Yeah, a little bit of ghost story. Yeah, I got better ones. Aloha, happy Halloween, hang loose, and don't let the vampires get you.